Think about the last time you went grocery shopping. Think about what you paid. Now think about what that same cart of groceries cost you 5 years ago. If you're anything like the millions of Americans we're going to talk about today, that number didn't just go up a little. It went up a lot. Eggs, up 49%. Bread, up 24%. Ground beef, up 37%. Orange juice, up over 60%. And here's what nobody is telling you. This didn't happen by accident. There is a hidden force at work, one that has been quietly draining your purchasing power for decades. And today, we are going to expose exactly what it is, who benefits from it, and what it means for your financial future. My name isn't important. What is important is what you're about to learn. Because once you see this, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the basics. Because most people think they understand inflation. They don't. Inflation is not just prices going up. That's like saying a hurricane is just some wind. Here's what inflation actually is. It is the gradual destruction of your money's purchasing power. Every single year, whether you notice it or not. In 1970, a movie ticket cost $1.55. Today, average $15. That's not because movies got 10 times better. That's because your dollar became worth 10 times less. The official target inflation rate set by the Federal Reserve, the central bank that controls America's money supply, is 2% per year. That sounds harmless, right? Just 2%. Here's the problem. At 2% inflation, the purchasing power of your money gets cut in half every 35 years. And when inflation spikes, like it did in 2021, 2022, and 2023, that timeline collapses dramatically. 9.1%, the highest inflation rate America had seen in 40 years, and you felt every single percent of it at the checkout line. Now the real question: why does this keep happening? What are the hidden forces actually driving your grocery bill through the roof? There are 3 major ones, and they work together like a perfect storm. Force number 1, the money printer. Between 2020 and 2021, the United States government created more new money than it had in the previous 200 years combined. Let that sink in. 200 years. In 12 months, the COVID stimulus packages, the relief checks, they were funded by the government telling the Federal Reserve to essentially print more money. And when you flood the economy with trillions of new dollars overnight, without a corresponding increase in actual goods and services, every existing dollar becomes worth less. This is called monetary inflation. And it is the most powerful driver of rising prices that almost nobody talks about. Force number 2, the broken supply chain. Inflation doesn't just come from too much money. It also comes from too few goods. When COVID hit, factories shut down. Ships sat idle. Truck drivers were sidelined. The entire global supply chain, the invisible network that moves everything from wheat to washing machines, seized up. Suddenly, retailers couldn't get products on their shelves. Demand stayed high. Supply crashed. And when demand is high and supply is low, prices go up. Every time, without exception. The port of Los Angeles, the largest port in the United States, had over 100 cargo ships waiting offshore at peak congestion in 2021. 100 ships just waiting. Every day they waited was another day prices crept higher. Force number 3, corporate pricing power. Now here's the one that will make you angry. In 2021 and 2022, as inflation was supposedly driven by supply chain issues,
our strategic price adjustments and operating efficiencies are driving significant margin
Companies like
expansion
Procter
in the
and Gamble,
current market environment.
PepsiCo, and Tyson Foods publicly told investors that inflation was giving them cover to raise prices beyond their actual cost increases and pocket the difference as profit. This practice even has a name now: greedflation versus consumer price chart, both rising together. In 2022, The grocery industry posted some of its highest profit margins in history. Think about that. You were struggling to afford your weekly groceries, and the companies selling them to you were making more money than ever. Who actually benefits? Inflation is not neutral. It doesn't hit everyone the same way. Inflation is, at its core, a transfer of wealth. From people who save money to people who own assets. If you have $50,000 sitting in a savings account earning 0.5% interest, and inflation is running at 7%, you are losing 6.5% of your purchasing power every year. You didn't spend it. You didn't gamble it. You saved it. And it's still disappearing. Meanwhile, people who own real estate, stocks, gold, or other hard assets, their assets are rising in price because of inflation. Inflation is literally making them richer while making you poorer. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the documented mathematical reality of how inflation works, and it's been working this way for the entire history of modern money. Let's talk about what this actually means for you, not in theory, but in your real life. The Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates aggressively since 2022 to try to cool inflation down. And to some degree, it worked. Inflation came down from that 9.1% peak. But here's what they don't tell you. Lower inflation doesn't mean prices go back down. It just means they stop rising as fast. The prices that spiked in 2021 and 2022, they are locked in. Permanent. The baseline has shifted. Forever. The average American household is now spending $700 more per month than they were in January 2021 to maintain the same standard of living. $700. That's $8,400 a year. Gone. Just to stay in place. And here's the part that keeps economists up at night. We may be entering an era of permanently elevated inflation, driven by deglobalization, aging populations, climate disruptions, and ongoing government spending. The era of cheap everything? It may be over. Now, I know that was a lot of alarming information, and I want to be clear, the goal of this channel is not to scare you into paralysis. The goal is to make sure you understand what's happening, because understanding is the first step to action. Step 1. Stop letting inflation destroy your savings. High-yield savings accounts are currently paying 4 to 5% interest, the highest in 15 years. If your money is sitting in a traditional bank account earning 0.01%, move it today. Step 2. Understand that cash is a depreciating asset. Holding large amounts of cash long-term in an inflationary environment is not playing it safe. It is a guaranteed loss. Your goal should be to put money to work in assets that outpace inflation. Step 3. Look at inflation-resistant assets. Historically, real estate, stocks, especially dividend-paying companies, commodities like gold and silver, and treasury inflation-protected securities known as TIPS have all outperformed inflation over the long term. Step 4. Invest in your own earning power. In an inflationary environment, your income needs to grow at least as fast as inflation. If you haven't had a raise that matches or exceeds the inflation rate, you've effectively taken a pay cut. We're going to do deep dive videos on every single one of these strategies. But right now, the most important thing you can do is this. Stop assuming that what worked financially in 2015 will still work in 2025. The rules have changed, and the people who understand the new rules will thrive. Everyone else will wonder why they keep falling behind no matter how hard they work. The hidden force making your groceries cost more every year is not a mystery. It is a system, and now you understand it. Monetary